Hi, Assalamualaikum. Now we are in chapter 2, which is valuations of real estate. The outlines of discussions are: what is valuation, value versus cost versus price, sales comparison approach, cost approach, and income capitalization approach, known as traditional approach of valuations methods. Okay, what is valuation? Estimating the value of real estate is necessary for a variety of endeavors, including financing, sales, listing, investment analysis, property insurance, and taxations. But for most people, determining the asking or purchase price of a piece of real property is the most useful applications of real estate valuation. Valuing real estate is difficult since each property has unique features such as locations, lot size, floor plan, and amenities. General real estate market concepts like supply and demand in a given region will certainly play into a particular property's overall value. Individual properties, however, must be subject to appraisal using one of several methods to ascertain a fair value. Technically speaking, a property's value is defined as the present worth of future benefits arising from the ownership of the property. Okay, value versus cost and price. Value is not necessarily equal to cost or price. Cost refers to actual expenditures on materials or labor, while a price is the amount that someone pays for something. While cost and price can affect value, they do not determine the value itself. The sales price of a house might be 150k, but the value could be significantly higher or lower. Okay? So for instance, if a new owner finds a serious flaw in the house, such as a faulty foundations, the value of the house could be lower than the price. Price and value formation. Okay, we can see here the shaded area where actual transactions will occur at, and the market price will be formed through negotiations between buyer and seller. The distributions of buyers and sellers need not be equal in size. Okay, so in these examples, there will be a buyer's market or named as cold market where the supply is over or more than the demand. In this context, sellers have to sacrifice the asset price in order to win the buyer. And in this example that we call hot market or seller's market, the demand is more than the supply. So in this case, the seller have the selling power to sell the asset at high price. Okay. Market value and market price. What is the market value? Okay. Market value is the most probable price that the property will bring in a competitive and open market. Appraisal reports are used by businesses, government agencies, individuals, investors, and mortgage companies when making decisions regarding real estate transactions. Okay, appraisal is a formal report on the value of the asset. Okay, so an appraisal is an opinion or estimate regarding the value of a particular property as of a specific date. Basically, or usually, we need help from the asset valuer to prepare appraisal, okay, for our asset. How about market price? Market price is the price at which property actually sells. Okay, may not always represent the market value. For example, if a seller is under duress because of the threat of foreclosure, or if a private sale is held, the property may sell below its market value. Okay, there are three traditional methods of valuation, which are sales comparison approach, cost approach, and income capitalization approach. We will discuss each of these methods after this. Okay, sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach is commonly used in valuing single-family homes and land, sometimes called the market data approach. It is an estimate of value derived by comparing a property with recently sold properties with similar characteristics. Okay. So in order to provide a valid comparison, okay, each must be as similar to the subject property as possible, have been sold within the last year in an open or competitive market, and it has been sold under typical market conditions. At least 3 or 4 comparables should be used in the appraisal process. Okay. The most important factors to consider when selecting comparables are the size, comparable features, and perhaps most of all locations, which can have a tremendous effect on a property's market value. Okay. So the comparable qualities, since no two properties are exactly alike, adjustment to the comparables need to be done. Okay. So the sales price will be made to account for dissimilar features and other factors that would affect value, which including age and conditions of buildings, date of sale, if economic changes occur between the date of sale of a comparable and the date of the appraisal. The terms and conditions of sale, such as if a property seller was under duress or if a property was sold between relative at a discounted price. Then location, since similar properties might differ in price from neighborhood to neighborhood. And finally, physical features, including lot size, landscaping, types, and quality of construction. Okay, number and types of rooms, square feet of living space, hardwood floors, a garage, kitchen upgrades, a fireplace, a pool, central air, and others. Okay. So the market value estimates of the subject property will fall within the range formed by the adjusted sales price of the comparables. Since some of the adjustment made to the sale price of the comparables will be more subjective than others, weighted consideration is typically given to those comparables that have the least amount of adjustment. Okay, so the second method is a cost approach. What is cost approach? Cost approach is to estimate the value of properties that have been improved by one or more buildings. This method involves separate estimates of value for the buildings and the land, taking into consideration depreciations of the asset. So the cost approach makes the assumptions that a reasonable buyer would not pay more for an existing improved property than the price to buy a comparable lot and construct a comparable buildings. This approach is useful when the property being appraised is a type that is not frequently sold and does not generate incomes. For example, schools, church, hospitals, and government buildings. Okay, so the building cost can be estimated in several ways. The first one is the square foot methods, which is the cost per square foot of a recently built comparable is multiplied by the number of square feet in the subject buildings. The unit in place method The costs are estimated based on the construction cost per unit of measure of the individual building components, including labor and materials. And finally, the quantity survey methods estimate the quantities of raw materials that will be needed to replace the subject buildings, along with the current price of the materials and associated installations costs. Okay, so this is a cost approach. So there are three types of building cost approach. So, okay. The third method is income capitalization approach, okay? Often called simply the income approach. This method is based on the relationship between the rate of return an investor requires and the net income that a property produces. It is used to estimate the value of income producing properties such as apartment complex, office buildings, and shopping centers. Appraisals using the income capitalization approach can be fairly straightforward when the subject property can be expected to generate future incomes, and when its expenses are predictable and steady. So direct capitalizations, the income approach focuses on what the potential incomes for rental properties yields relative to initial investment, as I mentioned before. So the income approach basically used frequently for commercial real estate investing. Okay? So appraisers will perform the following steps when using the direct capitalization approach. Okay, the first one, estimate the annual potential gross income. Second one is take into consideration vacancy and rent collection losses to determine the effective gross income, and then deduct annual operating expenses to calculate the annual net operating income, and then estimate the price that a typical investor would pay for the income produced by the particular types and class of property. Okay. So this is accomplished by estimating the rate of returns or capitalization rate. Apply the capitalization rate to the property's annual net operating incomes to form an estimate of the property's value. If you can recall back, the formula for cap rates is equal to net operating incomes, NOI, divided by the current market value of the asset, where the net operating income is the annual income generated by the property after deducting all expenses that are incurred from operations, including managing the property and paying taxes. And the current market value of the asset is the value of an asset on the marketplace. Okay, look at this example. An office building costs 120k, and then expected monthly incomes from the rental is 1,200. So the annual cap rate is the rental income 1,200 times with 12 months equals to 14,400 divided by the cost. Okay, equal to 12% of cap rate. Okay, so the importance of cap rate basically to compare different investment opportunities. For example, if all else equals, a property with a 10% of cap rate versus another property with 3% of cap rate, an investor is most likely to focus on the property with a 10% cap rate. Okay? And the second one is gross income multipliers, which is GIM. This method can be used to appraise other properties that are typically not purchased as income properties, but that could be rented, okay, such as one or two family homes or apartments. Okay, so the GRM method relates the sale price of a property to its expected rental incomes. For residential properties, the gross monthly income is typically used, whereby for the commercial and industrial properties, the gross annual income will be used. So the gross income multiplier or GIM can be calculated as follows. The sale price divided by rental income. Okay. So the recent sales and rental data from at least 3 similar properties can be used to establish an accurate of GIM. Okay. So the GIM can then be applied to the estimated fair market rental of the subject property to determine its market value, which can be calculated as follows. Rental incomes times with GIM. Okay. Then we can get an estimated market value. So I think that's all. The summary for this topic is the accurate real estate valuation is important to mortgage lenders, investors, insurers, and buyers and sellers of real properties. So while appraisals are generally performed by the skilled professionals, anyone involved in the real transaction can benefit from gaining a basic understanding of the different methods of real estate valuation. Okay, create so much value, then they call you the asset. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.